Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now, as I'm sure many of you who tune in regularly will know, I own a Porsche Boxster 718 GTS. I've had that car for a little over a year now and I absolutely love it, but I get lots and lots of questions through my various social media pages. When am I going to change the car? Am I going to upgrade? Am I going to get something different? Well, it's safe to say I love the car, but I still have a hankering at some stage in my life for a Porsche 911. The question is which one? Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love a GT3 or a GT3 RS, but I think, to be honest, they're a little bit beyond my price range. However, as my Boxster is a GTS, for some the ultimate variant of a Boxster, where Porsche do all the lovely things, what about a 911 GTS? So I spoke to my very good friends at Porsche GB and I borrowed theirs and it's parked outside. So let me show you around the car and we'll take it for a drive and I'll explain my thinking. Is a Porsche 911 Carrera GTS my obvious next car? Let's go and have a look. Now, wouldn't that be an amazing garage to walk out to and see every day? I tell you what though, here in the UK we've been so spoilt with the weather over the last few weeks. It's been beautiful sunshine. Not so much today. It's a very ominous looking day today. I've even heard thunder from that direction, so hopefully the rain will stay away. But yes, I've got a beautiful Python green 911 Carrera GTS, the two-wheel drive version, 992 generation, to experience today. But more on that car in a moment. Before then, let me just enlighten you on my thinking a little bit about my Boxster. Now, the one thing that winds me up about people and Porsche is when they say that a Boxster or a Cayman, they're just for people who can't afford a 911. I've never thought that way. They are fundamentally different cars. This is a rear engine car and these are mid-engines. Obviously the Boxster has no roof, but I've always been a Boxster fan and I've always aspired to own a Porsche. So when I picked up my Boxster last year, it was a really big day for me and I have loved every day of ownership since. The Boxster GTS, so Porsche do a normal version of their cars, they then do an S which normally has more power, a few more toys, and then normally towards the end of a run they do a GTS, and that basically is all the things they'd like to do to the car to make it the ultimate version of that car. And then you've got things like GT cars, whether that's GT4 Cayman, Spider on the Boxster side of things, or GT3 on the 911 side of things. We're not talking about GT cars. The GTS is the ultimate non-GT variant of any Porsche. And that's certainly what I find with the Boxster. So would I like a 911? Absolutely. One of the things that I do, if you like, I wish we had in the Boxster is more space, especially for the dogs. There are no rear seats in a Boxster, so if we do go out with the dogs, they go in the footwell basically, and it's not ideal really. To make it a little bit more of a family special occasion touring car, some seats in the back would be really useful. And that brings me on to thinking about 911, because although the seats in the back aren't brilliant for human beings, they are perfect if you are a little baby schnauzer about this big. So let's just talk about 911 and which variant of 911 I would want to own and where the GTS sits in that, because this GTS here is a beautiful thing. Now this year is a pretty special year for the 911. Can you believe the 911 celebrates its 60th birthday and the Porsche Mark celebrates 75 years. And one of the things, or the reasons I got this car this week, is because this video is going live on the channel the same weekend as Festival of Speed. And at the Festival of Speed, Porsche are celebrating both of those anniversaries in a big way. Firstly, they're going to be the central feature. And myself and Joe and the podcast are going to be working with Porsche over the weekend of Festival of Speed to do some really cool things. So there will be more Porsche content coming to the channel very soon. But let's talk 911. To be honest, I'd take any 911, but one of the big things that might make that a challenging decision is the prices of new 911s is increasing at an alarming rate. Even the base spec Carrera is now nearly £100,000. I can remember not that long ago, a Turbo S is going to cost you that, but no, base 911 is now pretty much 100 grand. And the prices have gone up so much that since Porsche GB printed out the spec sheet of this car, and looking at the configurator this morning, there's an alarming difference. So I went onto the configurator, play with a few things this morning. The GTS Carrera two-wheel drive version, base price is £122,000. And this is spec'd up to £138,000, there or thereabouts. But we'll get onto that in a moment. What are we getting? Well, at the back, we've got a flat 6 3-litre engine, 7-speed manual gearbox. We'll talk more about 7 gears in a car very shortly. And then performance-wise, 480 horsepower, 570 Newton meters of torque. That gets this thing down the road really, really well. But I don't think this car is all about outright horsepower. If you want that, go and buy a Turbo or a Turbo S. But I was on a tour with one of these when we did the podium tours. My mate's got the 4-wheel drive GTS, and honestly, that thing was ballistically fast. Because what the GTS tends to be, it tends to sit a bit lower than the S models. It tends to have nicer wheels. This particular car is spec'd with the center lock wheels, which look awesome. You can have normal wheels as well. I was always a bit worried about center locks, just in case you have a tyre issue. If you can't get to a Porsche center, you may well have issues just getting the wheels off, but they do look wicked. Let's go back to the price of this car, 138 grand. What makes it that? Well, it has one option ticked at £6,800 that's basically going to take stuff off, not put stuff on. Let me explain. I have a prop in the boot, and that prop is a 24 kilo kettlebell. If that was 25 kilos, that's how much weight has been taken off of this car by selecting the lightweight option. Now, it's a scary number. They don't just take stuff off. The big ticket item you get if you tick the lightweight option is you get the 918 carbon buckets, which on their own are like £4,800, and they look awesome. When we get inside the car, we'll talk about living with those. It's a slightly different proposition. But with a lightweight pack, you also get thinner glass, you get a lightweight battery, you get a lot of the sound deadening removed inside the car. There's a rear seat delete. There's a little bit of work done on the rear spoiler. You get rear wheel steering. So actually, it's not a brilliant name for the pack because it gives you a lot of cool stuff, but it does remove 25 kilos of weight from the car. And that makes this particular spec GTS very driver focused, and it should be awesome when we go down a B road. So let's jump on the inside, very quickly talk about the inside of the car, and then we need to go driving before this rain comes in. But yes, Python green, I love it. It's like Kermit the Frog's daily. Now, the best way to get into these sports seats is to kind of hold your weight on your hands until you're over the seat and then drop yourself down into the bucket, because there's a really big side bolster, and that does make these carbon buckets, I think, probably a bit arduous to live with on a daily basis. So if you were going to, and I think I really noticed this when I jumped in my Boxster this morning to move it, mine doesn't have these seats obviously, and it's just so much easier to get into having spent the day driving this yesterday. So maybe the comfort seats, if you were dailying the car, would be a better option, but clearly with this lightweight tricked out version, these seats are beautiful and they are just so supportive. And the steering wheel position, the seating position in one of these is just perfect. You can get the steering wheel really nice and close. You just sit in here and it just feels like you're in a race car. It's fantastic. Now, rear seat delete option. Not the best for me if I wanted to use this as a pup carrier, because there's nowhere to strap the dogs in. So I'd want the seats in the back. And then if you know me well, and the reason I've got a Boxster and not a Cayman is because I love a soft top. So I'd actually rather have the convertible GTS, but you do pay about a 10 grand premium. So the convertible 2-wheel drive GTS is about 132 starting price and 138 for the 4-wheel drive version, and even a little bit more than that if you want the Targa. So yeah, you're going to be paying a little bit more. And for me, I haven't got that kind of money, so I'd probably be looking at at a 991.2 maybe, and that might be more in my price range. I'd love a turbo convertible or a Turbo S convertible, but then you're talking really silly money. So unfortunately, I am a mere mortal when it comes to Porsches, and 60 odd grand for my Boxster was a stretch, so twice that for this car is a bit challenging. Inside here, we've also got the GTS interior pack, like I've got on my car. You get embroidered headrests, you get lots of Alcantara, sorry, we're in a Porsche, race techs. So I think if I say Alcantara, everyone knows what I mean, but it's race techs. Just sound a bit pretentious when you say that. So race techs on the steering wheel. It's also got a carbon fiber option, so you've got some nice matte finish carbon fiber around here. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to sit. And then we have a 7-speed manual gearbox. I'm old enough to remember when my dad went from 4-speed to 5-speed. I remember going, wow, 5 gears in a car. And then 6 gears came along a few years later. And I think this is only the second 7-gear car I've driven. I've driven an Aston Martin with a 7-speed manual box. Although that had a dog leg, first was back and left. This is a kind of standard H pattern, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So I'll be interested to explain and talk about that when we're out driving. But it's a stunning, stunning place. So let's get some cameras set up and head up the road, because this car, it has the most beautiful feel and it is so quick. Now then, let's start this drive in normal mode. The car's got normal, sport and sport plus like mine. It also has a wet mode, which at the moment I'm not going to need to try out today, and an individual mode where you can go in and customize it however you wish. The thing I was worried about with the sound deadening removal as part of the lightweight package would be that it would be noisy at normal driving speeds, and it's really not the case. There's a little bit more road noise, a little bit more tyre noise, but it's not grating. It doesn't get on your nerves. When I drove it back from Reading yesterday, I didn't notice it at all. The benefit it has, though, is when you get on it, when you open the taps, when that throttle opens, the noise, it's so much more there and engaging. It's quite spectacular. And you can hear the exhaust, and it's not as much as like the pre-OPF cars with the raucous, throaty noise, but it's not bad. You get some overrun pops and bangs and rumbles, tasteful ones, but I think because there's no sound deadening, you hear it more. And then just the normal driving position. It's got loads of torque, this car. I'm in fourth at the moment. It's got plenty of pull from 40 up to 60 without even trying. And actually, a normal driving on a road like this, you're probably in fourth and fifth, sixth and seventh gears. In fact, when I drove back yesterday, I didn't use seventh at all. So it's a really usable, nice, daily, normal car. It's just a beautiful thing to drive, and I've been very lucky. I've driven lots of 911s now, and some of you may have, and some of you may have never even sat in one. They just have a very special feel to them. There's something very difficult to describe about driving a 911. They're just very special things. So let's go and find some more twisty roads and put it up into sport mode. Okay, now let's turn into sport mode. One of the things that does is it opens the valves on the exhaust, and yeah, straight away it sounds different. Keep our fingers crossed that no one's turning right up here, please. Oh no, the YouTube gods aren't on my side. But what I also get in sport mode, and it is configurable, you can turn it off if you want, is I get the auto blip feature. And you should know by now, when I drive a Porsche, I always use the auto blip feature because it does it better than I can, basically. But if you wanted that engagement, if you wanted to heel and toe yourself, knock yourself out. The pedal spacing is perfect. If you want some fun, do it yourself. Here we go. mine is just after 7,500 RPM, so you don't get the full 9,000 RPM you do in the GT3, but it's still a tour de force of a motor. Wowzers. Now, in sport mode, the suspension's actually in the softer setting. I can firm it up. I've got adaptive suspension. This road's pretty bumpy and pretty horrible, to be fair. It's all right where it is, thanks. See, you just find yourself doing that all the time, and then it's just such a mega engine. A few rumbles and bumbles on the way down. Yeah, see, the one thing this car that has that mine doesn't is it's got 6 cylinders, and every time I drive a flat 6 Porsche, you go, yeah, there's something in it, you know. Flat 4 turbos are great, flat 6 NAs are just wicked. So I think if I had one of these, I'd spend my life in sport mode. My favourite mode in my Boxster when I'm on it, when I'm on a nice bit of road, is to stick it into an individual mode which turns everything up to the max. Sport plus on everything apart from the suspension, which I leave in the softer setting. But let's just turn this up to Sport plus. I've now got the firmer suspension. The little button on the dash here is just showing red on the damper. I can soften that off. So I'm now in Sport plus just with the softer damper setting. Honestly, this thing is so rapid down a B road. It's just wicked. They've got this feeling to them, they're just delicious things. And then you come into a corner, you get on the brakes, you get down a gear, and then you just stick that front end in and bang. They're just amazing things, 911s. What I love about this one is it's not quite as hardcore and dialed in at the front as the GT3, but let's face it, that double wishbone front end on the GT3 is a sensational thing. This doesn't have that, obviously, but by goodness me, does it feel good. And then you can just really, that blip on the throttle. Gearbox is just mega, absolutely mega. Now, it doesn't feel as long a gearing as something like a Cayman GT4, and I'm wondering whether that's the ratios. I probably need to do a bit of reading about what ratios there are. You know, is that 7th gear just a taller gear to give you better top speed and better fuel economy on a cruise, or is it a similar ratio to 6th gear and then they just shortened up the gaps between all of the gears to give you a more engaging drive? Either way, on a road like this, you're not going to be using it. Basically, 3rd and 4th are your friends. There's so much torque in the car, you can just basically sit in 4th and play with it on the throttle. But if you want to come down to 3rd, there's plenty of gear there for you. I'm going to be accused of just saying nice things about this car, but truthfully it's very difficult to get in this car and say negative things about it because it's just very good. There are a couple of things though. I know that the 5 instrument dials in front of me hark back to the iconic 911 instrument cluster. However, and I think I said this the first time I drove a 992, the 2 outside dials are pretty pointless really, because actually I can't see them from here. To see them I have to do that or that. Now there is quite a nice mode where you can just concentrate on just the central dial and it blanks the 2 out the side. I can customize the one on the right hand side to show things like, I don't know, sat nav or whatever. But when you're in the normal dial mode, those 2 outside ones really aren't that much use at all. The other thing worth noting is I really like the new PCM. The new iconography and colours. Mine's just like a monochromatic screen. I really like that. I use Apple CarPlay all the time. We'll stick it up there. But actually the Porsche system's really good. But yeah, that's about it really from a negative point of view. Can't see those instrument clusters. Damn. I do find it a bit scary, the price increases in Porsche 9, well, all Porsches to be fair, but you know, a base 911 being nearly 100 grand, this car being 130 odd, it's a lot of money. Now, interestingly, my next door neighbour was talking to our local Porsche centre about putting an order in, and I think there's quite a hefty wait list for the 992, but next year we'll see the second generation 992, and that's going to be a hybrid. So if you want a naturally aspirated 911, you best put your order in now and just hope they build it quickly, because when you get on a bit of road like this gearbox is so smooth, the ride is so good, the driving position's great, the steering feel is just lovely. You've got that lovely blip on the downshift. I mean, come on, who doesn't want that in their life? Well, I want one in my life. Best start working harder, that's all I need to say. So, are you a 911 fan? If so, which one would you have? I haven't really answered the question, because yes, I'd like a GTS Cabriolet for sure. I'd also like a Turbo S Cabriolet. I'd like a Targa, but I'd be happy with the base model. They're just brilliant cars. But I think my hunting's going to be on Auto Trader, looking at a 991.2, because I think that's probably all my money's going to stretch to. I guess the good thing with finance is the residuals of Porsches are so good that the finance numbers probably aren't too scary. Oh man, what a car. Anyway, make sure you stay tuned for all my Festival of Speed content. Some very special things happening with Porsche over the Festival of Speed, but if you enjoyed that one, give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you on the next film, guys. You take care, drive safe.